Liverpool are Premier League champions. First of all, congratulations, Liverpool. Well deserved. You have been the best team in the league, but I hope that this is your last Premier League title. And I hope that Manchester United will get their number 21 next season. But I'm also not deluded, and I know that Man United aren't going to win the league next season. But I could sit here and I could make this about Manchester United and rant about the Glazers and the state of my club being in 15th place and the fact that Liverpool can now sing 20 titles and screw Arteta and Pep for letting this happen because Fergie never let this happen. But today is about Liverpool. They are Premier League champions. I want to talk about the game as well, actually, because it was a very good performance versus Tottenham. I do actually want to talk about the match for Allister, Diaz, and Liverpool deserve champions. And one thing I will say, despite the narrative of Liverpool being lucky, this and that, Liverpool deserve to win the league because it's a 38-game season and they've lost 2 games. They're on track to get over 90 points. They're on track to get more points this season than the Invincibles, and the level of the mid-table clubs in the Premier League is the best it's ever been. When you look at the Forest, the Fulhams, the Villas, the Newcastles, it's not an easy game in the Premier League unless you go to like the bottom 5. Tottenham, United, and the relegated 3 seem to be the only games that are easy in the Premier League for teams. So, Liverpool, people sort of creating this narrative that it's a bad win. It's an incredible win for a manager like Arne Slot to come to Liverpool in his first season, not really get any signings, and win the league. It's an incredible achievement. And as much as I'd like to be bitter, you can't take away from the fact that Liverpool have been the best team this season. They have been excellent at points this season, particularly the first half. They were unreal. They deserve to win. Manchester City won the last 4 Premier League titles with 115 charges over their head. No matter how much I dislike Liverpool, they've done it the right way. They're a proper club with proper history, with proper passionate fans, let's be honest, and they don't have 115 charges. So as much as the media and I would love to jump on and slander the fact that they've won the league and blame it on City falling off and blame it on Arsenal falling off, Liverpool were unstoppable. Even if Arsenal and City had fallen off, would they have catched Liverpool? I don't know. It would have been maybe a race to the final day, but they are deserved, and they don't have 115 charges over their heads. So, yeah. So let's have a talk about the game. First of all, Liverpool. I knew Liverpool were going to win. I was hoping Spurs would win because I thought all the celebrations at Anfield would be funny. The bitter Man United fan in me. But I knew Liverpool were going to win. And they destroyed Tottenham. That was embarrassing for Tottenham. That was embarrassing. Like, I watched Man United this season, and I think Man United is so bad. But I actually think Tottenham are worse than us. I mean, Tottenham just fell apart. Obviously, I know being at Anfield, the situation of the game, of course, Liverpool are going to have that fire in them, but they just destroyed Tottenham. Liverpool, they played like Premier League champions. Nobody was good enough to catch Liverpool this season. People can talk about Arsenal and City all they want, but Arsenal folded, City cracked, Liverpool were there. Liverpool were the best team in the league. They are not fully complete. I think there's points in the league in the season where Liverpool didn't even get out of second gear. Darwin Núñez hasn't been much help this season. Robertson, everybody knows an upgrade could be needed there. I don't think in terms of depth, it's as good as people think, because I think Arne Slot doesn't use a lot of the substitutes. I think the midfield, who's been incredible this season, has been run to the ground. Liverpool won the league. They made it look easy, but we know that beating Bournemouth isn't easy. Beating Brentford isn't easy. Beating Fulham, beating Villa, beating Newcastle, really difficult game. Beating Forest, they didn't beat Forest this season. The games where Arsenal have drawn, and Arsenal have drawn like 12 games this season, Liverpool had that little bit of extra quality, probably Salah's brilliance half the time, to get over the line and win the games. And today showed Liverpool's quality in attack. When Liverpool get going, when they flow in attack, they're excellent. Szoboszlai, the movements, how it's opened up space. Spurs were just a defensive calamity, let's be completely honest. Diaz was just electric. Gakpo was back on his game again today. Salah gets his goal, gets in the action. McAllister was man of the match. He was a wizard. He was fantastic. And we'll talk about the game now for the next 3 minutes, and then I'm going to talk about Liverpool in general, Arne Slot, and everything, and maybe have a little bit of a rant about Man United. We'll see. But I'm trying not to rant about Man United. I'm trying to be neutral and be like, just talk about the league. But I really want to rant. I'm not happy, but this is about Liverpool. McAllister, I thought, was fantastic today. Dominated the midfield, pressed, created, controlled the tempo. Look, for me, McAllister, £35 million. I look at it now, and if I could go back in time and make Liverpool get Mason Mount and Man United get McAllister, because it was like McAllister and Mason Mount were both being looked at by Man United and Liverpool, and we went and give Mason Mount more wages than Liverpool willing to give him. And I just think we should have gone for McAllister. And I was an idiot at the time. I wanted us to go for Mason Mount over McAllister. That's got to be one of my worst football takes. McAllister's world class. You can't win the World Cup, win the Premier League, and be arguably Liverpool's second best player after Salah this season, in my opinion, particularly the second half of the season when the pressure gets going, and one of the best players in the World Cup. You are world class. I said McAllister is borderline world class, but when Liverpool win the league, he'll be world class. And he is officially world class. He can play DM, centre mid, as a 10. He can play everywhere. But he's got 12 goal contributions this season. He's got a good strike in him. He scores good goals. He can create. But it's his ability between the lines, on the ball, to find space, get out of tight spaces, progress the ball, progress play. He can do what you want on the ball, but he can do what you want off the ball. He can get him with a tackle. He's defensively fine. I think he's better on the ball than off the ball, but the amount of ground he covers, I think he really steps up in the big pressure moments. Like McAllister is made for the big stage. He really steps up in those big pressure moments. I feel like the start of the season, he was good. But Gravenberch was the standout midfielder at the start of the season. And now the second half of the season, McAllister's been the guy that showed up. And I felt there's been a few games where Gravenberch and Szoboszlai, they look just knackered. And McAllister was running the midfield by himself. I think he's been unbelievable. I think he was arguably your player of the season last year. Salah will be it this year, but he's up there. He's got to be in the Premier League team of the season. He's not in anybody's shouts. Every time I see someone's Premier League team of the season, I very rarely see McAllister, which is crazy. But Szoboszlai, I thought, was really good today. I think Szoboszlai's movement in a game like Tottenham at creating space was just unbelievable. And Diaz was electric. Diaz has been really good in this final run. And look at this. These are statistics. I assume you can read. He's been really good. Diaz started the season really well. Had a period where he dropped off a bit, but he is a lot better on the left than centrally. And then he's gone electric again. And, there was a talk or rumours, I don't think there was much credibility in it, that Diaz could be moved on. But I think Liverpool need to move on Núñez and Jota. Probably Chiesa if he's not going to play. I think Chiesa should get more minutes, and if I'm Liverpool now, you've won the league, just play Chiesa from now to the end of the season, because even if he's not in your plans next season, you can get his value up and easier to sell him. Potentially, give him minutes, test him out more. But yeah, I think Jota and Núñez are the ones you want to move on. Like Diaz keep, Gakpo keep, get them competing on the left. You probably want someone like an Mbeumo that could play in the middle and complete with Salah on the right. When Klopp, and this is an exclusive information actually, from somebody I spoke to, when Klopp was at Liverpool, if he'd have stayed, there's a very strong chance he would have got Mbeumo, from what I was told. And that Mbeumo thought he at one point was going to move to Liverpool. So maybe, but I think he could go to Newcastle. But that was 2 years ago. But I wouldn't be shocked. But let's continue on and talk about Liverpool. So Liverpool had the mentality. Do you know what? Arsenal, when they've gone 1-0 in a game, they've not gone and won that game 2-1, whereas Liverpool have gone 1-0 in a game or been 1-0 behind and gone and won that game 2-1. And I felt what Liverpool had this season. Oh, my computer just froze, sorry. I felt what Liverpool had this season was that mentality over Manchester City, over Arsenal, not just the midfield being excellent, but they had that mentality. Even at 5-1 up, you just didn't take your foot off the gas. You went and you went and you went. And Arne Slot deserves massive credit, because it's very rare that someone wins the league in their first season, especially without really getting a transfer window. Liverpool meltdown when you didn't get Suboszlai. Gravenberch, who wasn't involved loads last season under Klopp, he played quite a bit, but he wasn't seen as, a key player. I think he did quite well with the second half of the season under Klopp. It took a while to get going. He was moved into a DM, and Arne Slot made it work. And he's won the league in his first season, which is a ridiculous achievement. I always say winning the Premier League is the hardest achievement of football. It's harder than the Champions League. Because, Real Madrid can win the Champions League when they're not at their best, because they're Real Madrid. They always find a way. Do you know what I mean? The Premier League, you have to be the best, because it's 38 games. You can't drop off. And there's times where, it will maybe be harder, because City will go and win 10 games in a row, Arsenal win 10 games in a row, and we've had more intense title races. And I think there's times where how good City and Arsenal are, it's definitely harder. But I also think one of the reasons City and Arsenal haven't got the points they would have normally got this season is because Fulham is better, Brighton's better, Bournemouth's better, Newcastle's better. And I think a lot of the games this season, City and Arsenal would have won if they were playing those same teams last season, but they've got so much stronger. and City and Arsenal just haven't had what Liverpool have had to get over the line. Because there's never an easy game in the Premier League. Maybe Southampton, but Southampton went ahead versus you guys. Maybe Leicester. But it's not hard. And I think obviously you've got Allister, Salah, Van Dijk, they're proper world-class leaders that help. You've got players with good mentality there, and you've done it before. But I felt that Liverpool had that mentality massively. Liverpool are deserved champions. Winning a Premier League over 38 games, you can't call it lucky. I'd love to be like they're lucky, la-di-la, but they don't have any charges. They've won it over 38 games. His manager's come with his first season. It's a credible achievement. And you won the title by distance. There's 4 games to go, or 3 games now, and you've already won the league, and you could get over 90 points. And you lost 2 games in the league this season against a very difficult Forest side, which many people underestimated. I remember when Liverpool lost to Forest, there was outrage by Liverpool fans. Oh, Arne Slot. Some people worried. Obviously, it's the Twitter fans that reactionary online. It's a small percentage, but it's there. I think, yeah, Liverpool could finish with over 90 points. I feel like you might drop off between now and the end of the season. The league is won. But then I'm also like, not that you drop off, but I think, the league is won. But the league, I don't think the league's, I know that Arsenal and City aren't there, but the league, Bournemouth, Fulham, Newcastle, unreal this season. You look at Wolves, how good they've been lately. Crystal Palace, been really good. I mean, Man United and Tottenham, and I said this in my other video, in another season, Man United and Tottenham would be 7th and 8th. 3 seasons ago, Man United and Tottenham, if they were this bad, they'd be 7th and 8th. They are 15th from 16th because of how bad the Premier League is. Sorry, how good the Premier League is, the mid-table clubs are. First time ever, 2 seasons in a row, the promoted teams have gone back down. West Ham spent all that money, they're 17th. Man United and Spurs would normally be 7th, 8th in a bad season. That's where Man United were. That's how good the Premier League is. And Liverpool have only lost 2 games in the competition. And Pep Guardiola said himself, there'll never be a team that'll get 100 points again because of how good the Premier League is and how much money's there. Arne Slot, no Subermende, no Gordon, inherited the side that Klopp built. And Klopp is a part of this. Rebuilding that midfield. 4 midfielders in one summer. And midfield can rebuild a side. He knew his midfield was getting old. And McAllister, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and Endo, those 4 midfielders coming in, they are the big difference. Liverpool's midfield has been the best midfield in the league this season. And Arne Slot turning Gravenberch into a DM, maximising McAllister, the fact that rebuild that happened the season before, that was key today. And they needed a year at Liverpool to adapt and be in that title race. And they showed last year under Klopp up until March they could very much compete with City and Liverpool, but they just burnt out at the end. And this season, they did it. And I think first off the season, Liverpool are unreal. I think since February, you've had a few really good games since February, but I think you've almost known the league's wrapped up. So the levels have dropped a little bit, but you're still the best team in the league. And you cruise to the title. The first half of the season in particular, you were Champions League favourites, you were FA Cup favourites, you were Carabao Cup favourites, and maybe there's a bit of an exhaustion there as well. But yeah, I think Klopp's influence is there. I think recruitment is smart, and it was a big call bringing in Arne Slot. There was links to Xabi Alonso, people cried you didn't get him. There was links to Amarin. But what Liverpool did was really smart. And, the Liverpool, they don't spend a lot of money. FSG, they're not the best owners in the world. The whole contract situation, leaving Salah and Van Dijk this long is a disgrace. But they got it right. That call, I think it was Michael Edwards to bring Slot in was right. Amarin and Xabi Alonso play very different to Klopp, and there was going to be a big rebuild, a lot of money needed to be spent. And maybe Liverpool being tight and not wanting to spend money and throw this season away to have a massive rebuild, is Liverpool being tight might have worked out in this case, because Arne Slot coming in meant that Liverpool wouldn't have to spend as much money in the summer, which is really bad when you look at it in that sense. But actually, this is the year that City lost Rodri and Arsenal had an injury crisis, which has helped. But Liverpool, regardless, still could have won the league title because they're probably going to finish with more points than Arsenal have ever had, even if Arsenal are at their best. I think, people underestimate how good Liverpool are. But Arne Slot's come in and he's very much able to do and work with Klopp's players. And I think that's really worked to Liverpool's advantage, where even though they haven't spent, he's maximised the squad because they brought a manager in that they know can work with these players. It's more of a head coach. And then it's, he's been fantastic. Rodri's injuries probably helped. Arsenal not having the mentality, elements of that have helped. But people keep talking about Liverpool only winning because City and Arsenal dropped off. And I feel like that's unfair. You can't use Arsenal and City's disappointing league campaign to discredit Liverpool's title, because 2 losses all season on track for over 90 points That's an incredible achievement. You can, if you win the league over a 38-game season, no matter who you are, you can't discredit that. You know, Liverpool's league win is being discredited more by certain people in the media this year because City and Arsenal have fallen off, when City have won the league with 115 charges over their head, which is crazy. But yeah, you have to give Liverpool that bit of credit. And I don't like to, but the team was smart. It was well run and it was dangerous. And that summer was good. And what worries me is I don't think Liverpool at their best. They're going to get better than Darwin Núñez. They're going to upgrade Robertson. They're going to get a couple players in for Slot. And yeah, they're probably going to lose Trent. But it does worry me that Liverpool are going to probably get better. I don't even think they're at their very best and they've just won a league. And, you know, and Arsenal saying, oh, next season they're going to be at their best. And Arsenal think they might win the league next season. And Man City think they might win the league next season. And they definitely could because they're going to be back. They're going to be at the best. But this Liverpool squad still isn't complete. This is Arne Slot's first season. Liverpool could be even better next season. And them winning 21 titles is worse than them winning 20 titles. Final thoughts. Deserved champions. It was a proper title win. And while I hate seeing it happen, you've got to give them respect. I will say, Sir Alex Ferguson never let this happen. But Pep, Arteta, you let Liverpool back on their perch. Pep, you let Liverpool win the season, the title in COVID season. Arteta, you've let Liverpool win the league this year. Sir Alex Ferguson didn't let this happen. Thank you for watching. Bye.